Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. This is one of those special episodes because if you've been around here a little bit, you're kind of like noticing a trend. When I launch an audio series, I like to give a couple of snippets from the audio series here on the main podcast so that you can enjoy it just a little bit, even if you didn't register. But if you did want to get yourself registered and want to learn more and hear the details of all these interviews more in depth, make sure you head over to travelbiztraining.com, or you can also just head over to the link down below. I'll have a couple of different links so you can check out the previous audio series and then this audio series, which is about the Hispanics in travel, in the travel industry. I am so... this was so much fun to record. And so I hope you have just as much fun listening to all this. I'm giving you a blend of both culture and then also things to be thinking about for your own travel business when it comes to the Hispanic market. So without further ado, we are going to actually start off with the very first interview that I recorded with Daniel Santiago from Regal Wings and Cavalli Travel. So enjoy the snippet.
So it all really depends on you confidently selling it and putting it out there. But yeah, I always feel like a lot of the agents do sell thinking of their buying power. And I'm like, you
Right.
cannot do that because then if it were like that, we would never been able to sell, super high-end vacations.
Yes, it's very similar to I've never been to this place before, so I can't sell it. And I'm like, do you know how many trips I've sold, especially in the past couple of years, and I've never been there?
I get that with the Maldives. Oh, if I don't see it, I can't sell it. I'm like, well, then I can help you with agent rates. And they're like, oh, and I'm like, oh, it's like I can't give you a free ride, but if you do want to go and you want to explore it, I'll give you agent rates, and
Right.
that's when they back down a little bit.
Yeah. So I want to get into the Maldives, but before, just one last question about private. Would you say that kind of private, like renting out a private jet right now, might be equivalent to what the prices are for business class tickets?
Well, it depends on the route that you're going,
Okay.
where you're going. And I always say full flight yields good pricing. So I have people that are like, oh my God, I want to go. And it's a couple. And I'm like, but of course, if it's a couple and it's a $40,000, of course, $20,000, each. But I always say group vacations really work well
Yeah.
with private jets, sports travel as well. Like you have a lot of guys that are gonna go golfing and they want to go golfing in Arizona or somewhere, and they can go all together. That works out together. Sports travel on the sports events travel, if they're going all for the Super Bowl
Smart.
or something like that, they all go together. Weddings as well, because for example, if you're doing a wedding in the Caribbean, you can tell it'll be mom of the groom, dad of the groom, or family of the groom, the ones that are getting married, and the other two, dad and mom. That's 6 people. You can bring
Mhm.
your own wedding dress on the flight. So you do have a lot of things that kind of makes it easier to kind of see the value of a private jet. But I always
Mhm.
say try to keep it full. If it's an 8-seater,
I love
try to
that.
have 8 people. If it's a 12-seater, try to have 12 people, because that's where the prices can go to two, three, four, $5,000 per person for a round trip, which is not a bad thing if you are thinking about that you can leave whenever you want to leave. You
Mhm.
normally have drinks right there. You have a menu, so it really does change the whole outlook of it. And also
Nice.
short trips. I always say don't try to go over the water. Everything that's going to Europe or Asia from private jet is going to be over $125,000. That's a given. So you
Ooh.
can stay low. You can say New York to Miami, Miami to Bahamas, Miami to
Okay.
Jamaica, things like that. I've always also tell people if you don't have to do the whole trip on a private jet, get them on commercial airfare to a closer by airport, and then from there you can do a private jet. Like for example, if you're in Oregon and you're going to Jamaica and you want to go on a private jet, just get them to Miami, and then from Miami you do a private jet
I
because it'll be
love that. Like all this travel hacking almost, but on the
yeah,
agency
and it
side.
is something that people don't think about it, but I'm like, you have to think about it on that level, that it
Mhm.
might not be the best if you do it all the way through, unless you have the money. Like I had one client that was from Texas all the way to Dubai. It was a $250,000 private jet, one way.
Wow.
And the guy bought it. He's like, it was an oil baron. He's like, I need to
Oh,
be on
yeah.
a meeting tomorrow in Dubai, so I don't care. Let's do it. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. Perfect. We'll go for it. And he did it. So again, it all really depends on the need. But if it is a leisure side, villa vacations, group vacations work very well. Special occasions work very well for private jets
Hmm.
and stuff like that. I think it's an easily sellable service.
I will say it was so much fun to collaborate with Daniel on this episode as a fellow Puerto Rican and like sharing just all the different childhood stories that we both had. Him having lived in Puerto Rico and myself where I would visit Puerto Rico during the summers with my grandparents and all of my extended family, that many of them are still there on the island. So it was very, very nice to share a little bit. Our next speaker on the Hispanics and Travel audio series is Lionel Garcia from MSC Cruises. And can I say, I probably had the most laughs on this episode. So I hope you join in on the fiesta with this one.
So I'm going to say this, and other people from other countries are going to hear this too, and maybe say, "No, that's mine." So, but I'm gonna call it and say this is my, true to my thing. What I call, Cuban is Noche Buena, which is December 24th.
Yeah.
We call it Noche Buena, good night,
Uh-huh.
where we all get together, the entire family. Right? It doesn't matter if this is the family you only see once a year. This is the night you all get together. It's at someone's home. There's a caja china, it's translations Chinese box, but it's a above ground smoker, if you will, or pit
Mm-hmm.
where we're grilling a pig, roasting a
Yes.
pig, and that's our lechon asado. But it's
Mm.
not just like going, you go to the Publix or the grocery store and get it. No, there's like a whole thing. You go to
Right.
this neighborhood where they raise the pigs all year long, and then they eliminate the pig for you so that you choose, and then you take it home and you have to prepare the pig, and you have to then season the pig and marinate the
Yep.
pig and like, inject it with all the garlic and naranja agria, which is the sour orange, and all the different things, and then you rub it, and then it's usually the men of the home and or of the family that are very involved with the roasting, and it's the women of the family who are very involved with the preparing. And then the best thing is then when it's finally out and the pork skin is all crackling, is then the picking of that and then
Mm.
sharing that and breaking off the ear, and and those little memories are golden. So much so that when I met my wife and we decided to move in together, and this is before we got married, who I know we lived in sin, but one of the first things I did or I attempted to do is not roast the whole pig in a cajachina, but I roasted a shoulder. And I have to admit, the top part came out great, but I didn't cook
Uh-huh.
it long enough because I failed at it. So from then on, I've uh, I've avoided doing it, and now I go to someone's house. So that's my long guy. Sorry. But yeah, so that is, I would say that those experiences for me are very much like a Cuban experience.
Mhm.
There's the black beans and rice that go with that.
Mm.
Oh, Thanksgiving is another example. So Thanksgiving, you don't know this, but my wife is American. So my wife's Thanksgiving is turkey, barely seasoned, salt, pepper in a bag,
Yeah.
uh, stuffing not made in the turkey, and yams and cranberry sauce and noodles. I've never had noodles at a Thanksgiving.
Noodles.
Noodles and
That's
mashed
new.
potatoes. But my Thanksgiving was another roasted pig, and the stuffing was like a picadillo, like a ground beef stuffing that they put
Oh.
inside the turkey. Our turkey was a turkey fricassee, which is like a tomato-based sauce. So it was made with like tomato sauce and onions and potatoes,
Interesting.
and inside it had the picadillo, which is a ground beef stew, if you will, with
Hmm.
olives and raisins and potatoes. And it was just a very different Thanksgiving than the
Yeah.
Thanksgivings that typically would happen across the country. That was our Thanksgiving as well. So those are some of my like stamped memories, like forever, never, you're never gonna lose them. Yeah.
I love that because we didn't like mashed potatoes wasn't a thing. Now we would do the cranberry, but my family is the household of the cranberry in the can, and you have to like take it out so that it looks just like the can when it's out. We're that family. I know, like that's the battle of the cranberry sauce at Thanksgiving, and I'm like, that's the right way. You can have your own way, but this is the right way. But we would also have like rice and beans, like that was part of it. Like we may have also had stuffing, but the stuffing was really the rice and beans, and it wasn't really like stuffed in the turkey. It was just served separately.
Yeah, it is neat to hear the different ways that it's done, and I wish I could tell you like, oh, it came from the island. No, one tradition that has come from the island, and I need to talk to my grandmother about this because she's getting older in age, and I may miss the opportunity. But every holiday season, my grandmother on my dad's side would make a turrón, and I'm probably gonna mess up what it is in English, but I think it's like a nougat bar is the best way to describe it. Okay. Yeah. And so her dad made turrón in Cuba and also in Spain by hand with a machine that is in my grandma's house with a press, and he would make it out of peanuts. It's not a typical, usually you'll get a peanut with other nuts, but not just peanuts.
I so hate cutting that story short because it is a good one. So make sure to listen to more of Lionel's interview where we talk about turrón. The way that he describes turrón is different than how I experienced turrón from Puerto Rico. He describes something like very soft, like almost like a nougat, like he was mentioning, whereas the turrón from Puerto Rico, or the one that I'm very used to, is more of a harder candy type thing. So again, like you can see like so many laughs were had, and like just all the stories. There's a really great blend of both business, like travel industry type things, and there's a really great celebration that we're having, just reliving all of the memories. And I will say, like, one of the truly heartwarming parts of this series is just how everyone really spoke about their parents and the relationship with their parents. I know not everybody has that or has memories that are like this, but it was really nice, and you can see and tell and feel that that is something that is really big and important for us in the Hispanic community, is that element of family. I mean, you heard Lionel talking a little bit about it, that it was really like a family thing to prepare the pig always for Christmas Eve. So, and Lionel is actually one of 4 Cubans that is featured here in this series. It actually kind of makes sense because a lot of the cruise industry is based in Miami, and we lovingly call here in Florida the Miami and South Florida region Little Havana, because that is where so many people are situated. If this was Orlando, I would say Orlando is like little Puerto Rico. So it's a little bit different. But without further ado, let's get on to our next speaker. It is Michelle Rodriguez Suarez from Riverside Luxury Cruises. Yeah, I'm thinking now, question for you.
Yeah.
Thinking about the movie Coco, like how accurate is that, the ofrenda?
Yes, I can tell you, yes. And I'm not gonna change it to make it a sad story for you guys, but I will tell you guys that, again, from the ofrenda and from Coco, like that, love the movie. I think they really made it to, if you're in the culture of, again, like for all of us, right? It was really, when your family passes away, you give them an offering. Right now, we're about to get there, right? This is going to be, we're in the time frame. It's October and November when everything happens, and Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead. I will tell you guys that, yes, I have followed this for many years. in my case, I had both my parents. I love them to death, and I'm here because of them. And I always say I'm very thankful, in all my accomplishments of what I built, but it was because of them. But I actually did lose both my parents in 2012.
Mhm.
And it was very hard for me because I both lost them the same year. And now here I could talk about it, where back then I couldn't.
Right.
But one thing that I always decided to do was to honor them. So just recently I was just on my ship. People, of course, a lot of people follow me on social media. There's a picture that I carry of both of them. It's actually upstairs now, but I carry it, and I actually have 2 rosaries that I just think, when I do travel the world, I always carry something that's theirs. And it's, again, those rosaries are special. The photo, I know that they're watching, we know of that when it comes to that day, which is, we start to give them what they like, to bring in the flowers and to bring in the drinks, and you just leave it there for them. You feel that it's their presence. It sounds odd maybe to many people, but if you just grew up and it is like that. So you guys just watch Coco. I know we're not here promoting Disney, but just watch it. You guys will definitely love it. I promise you. So yes, I feel that that's just a thing that I do believe in, and you honor as a part of your history and your heritage with your family.
Right. I love that you bring that part up too, because I don't know if you do it, but like candles were a big thing for my family. So every time like I'm overseas and I can go to a cathedral, I always light a couple of candles.
Oh my God. Can I tell you, Rita? And I'm not exaggerating. And you know what we're going to do after this? And I'm going to tag you on the post.
Okay.
I have photos in all of my travels that I've done into now, of course, Europe. I think I've gone now 7 times in less than a year, 7 or 8 times. I've done a couple of trips. I've gone now to, of course, it's all the churches. I was in, where was I? Just in Lyon. And I actually sat in one of the masses that was there. And of course, did not understand it, but I was there.
Nice.
And you have your money, and you go pay, you light the candles. And that's exactly, there's photos actually on my social media. So people are listening now, and you guys actually go on, you will find those images. If not, then I'll do a whole post now that we're talking about this. But yes, that's an amazing thing that you want to always keep their memory alive. They say if you can continue to talk about your ancestors, your family that no longer is here, you will always keep them, their spirit alive. So I think that's extremely important to know. They're not here, but they were with us, and they're such a part of our world. If not, we wouldn't be here. So thank you for bringing it. That was beautiful.
Yeah,
that was beautiful. I love it.
What do you think you've taken from your parents that's kind of like carried with you throughout your career?
I will be honest, from both my parents, and especially my mother, it was the dedication, the perseverance to get up, to work hard, to know that there was not going to be anyone that's going to give it to me. That no matter how hard I studied, and that's exactly, again, they grew up, how they, again, it was how they raised me, right? So I was very fortunate, as I say, we had education, and to be able to go to school, graduate, be the first in the generation to graduate, go to college, do all of these things to work. But always that was the one thing that it's like, with faith that you have, and that you have God in your life, you're always going to get to that next level. But you have to work hard. And there's never going to be a man, there's never going to be anyone who's going to give it to you. So if you want it, let me say that. Yes, it's very important, you guys, and to all the listeners, that was always my thing. It's not going to be your brains or, the beauty that's going to get you there. It's going to be the passion, the drive that you have. And I feel as a Latina, as a Mexicana, that has truly been the burn, the light that I have is what they left me. They instilled in me. It's like, to have, again, to remember, like, you have chores, you have things that you do, to stay humble, that when you are growing in everything that you do, that you're always thankful and you show gratitude, and you're always, and I'm going to use that word humble, because you always have to stay, somebody told me that today, you always have to be grounded.
Yes.
And if you don't have that, then you're going to let things, and life is going to pass you by. One, people are not going to like you. You have to always know that you are here to work hard, because there's another person that's working even harder. So guess what? It doesn't stop. And I say it doesn't stop because that's what they taught me. You don't, not because you made one level do you say, okay, I'm just going to relax here. No, that means you have to keep on grinding harder to say, I'm going to get to that next level. And that is one thing that I have done, and I have shown, and now I have my own daughter that I have shown this to, and to try to pass on those traditions that you need to do it, because nobody's going to do it for you. So,
and I
thank my parents for that lesson, for the lessons of life, of course.
So if you didn't catch on, yes, Michelle is Mexicana. And I was curious, we get lots of different media, and sometimes the media is not always correct. And so I was very curious about, were the things about Day of the Dead correct or not? So I was very happily surprised to find out, or I'm not sure if surprise is the right word, but I was very happy to find out that yes, the Day of the Dead portrayal that you do see in some of the movies is actually what happens in real life as well. And Day of the Dead wasn't really like a big thing for me growing up, in a Puerto Rican family. But it does have a special meaning to me as well, because Day of the Dead is on November 1st every year. And that is my grandmother's birthday. So it is always a special day. All right, let's keep on going. Let's learn a little bit from Janet Bava of Windstar Cruises.
Yeah, absolutely. So I thought, the money that it takes to host a 4 to 6 hour party, we can actually take that money and have a week-long celebration.
Yeah.
On board. So I'm all about, I love a good party, and I thought, okay, I could have a week-long celebration about me and my 15s. Yeah. And so I thought, oh my God, I don't want to celebrate my 15s just for 4 to 6 hours. That's going to go by too quickly. Let's make it a week-long celebration.
Yes.
So, you met a lot of people on board, which comes with cruising. There were a lot of people, our age. And the beautiful thing at 15, coming from a very strict upbringing too, that we had the liberty of being all over the ship. My parents were, on one side, the adults were on the other side, and then the teenagers were kind of going, and we were independent around the ship, meeting new people. So I'm very social as well. So it gave me an opportunity. Imagine being on a ship back then. It was 4,000 people, and it was one of the biggest ships out there. So for me, it was just like social haven, an opportunity for me to meet, people and celebrate my birthday. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. And I definitely did not wear the big dress. I've always kind of been the conventional. My sister has that picture in my mom's house still of the big pink dress. I just didn't see myself with that. I definitely took lots of pictures on board with the photographers that were on board. So I have lots of memories from that entire experience, but I don't have that long, big, huge, humongous quinceañera dress, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, same. Look, I think
I respect everybody who does it. Don't get me wrong. I love that. But I said, I'm going to save the big dress for my wedding. So I did wear the big dress for my wedding.
Okay.
Which I had a beautiful wedding celebration in Italy. And I got to wear my big, beautiful dress, but I was, definitely, there was not, I think I much rather spend time with the people that I loved and my friends on board for a week than having, it be about me, like you said.
I love that. And it's funny because I think if I ever get married, I don't want to do the poofy dress there either. So it's funny, the opposites.
Yeah.
Thinking about kind of what makes Hispanic families, and kind of also being strategic for the business owners that are listening. So some pillars are really family is huge. Hard work is a big thing. I think religion is also a big thing. Parties, getting together, that community aspect.
Yeah, I think, when you're targeting Hispanic, there's a huge opportunity in the travel community to target, Hispanic affluent people. There's, opportunities to target Black affluent, communities. And I think historically, the way that people have viewed Hispanics and Blacks within our communities have been mass market cruise lines,
right?
Or, so not necessarily being perceived as affluent. And so I think, looking at my family and our generation, I mean, my generation specifically, when I look across the board, all of my cousins and uncles, very successful, extremely successful, property business owners that spend a lot of money in travel year over year. And so when we travel, it just takes one or two of us to say, hey, we want to go to Turkey this year. And all of a sudden we have a group of 40 by one, and we just create a group chat on WhatsApp, and we're planning an entire group to go to Turkey. We do probably 2 to 3 family trips a year. I can assure you that other Hispanic families are, that are close, like my family, are doing the same. So from a travel industry perspective, to all our travel partners and professionals listening in on this, there's a huge untapped opportunity when it comes to Hispanic market, the Black affluent communities that are spending quite a lot of money, that are not necessarily looking for a mass market brand experience, and that have the means to be paying, $300 to $500 per day per person, and want to just do something that, that they feel welcomed and that they can be, who they are on board, and celebrate or go to these destinations and explore these other regions of the world. And so I think, we're all about I can tell you the Hispanics definitely value family time, and they value, they have a great work-life balance. Those that have been, been able to succeed in life. I know for all of us in my family, it's very important to have that work-life balance and spend time with each other, disconnect from the day-to-day grind, and take vacations together, or, travel together to certain locations. I've done Thanksgiving in Savannah with my family. We just came back from Turkey. We did the Greek Isles last year. They all came to Italy for my wedding. So every year we're doing these large, huge trips with minimum 30 people, because it becomes not only our family, but then our friends that love our family and love to hang out with our family. But they don't necessarily have these large families that we do, but they're like, I can hang out with your family all day long. And you have people from, age ranges from 7, 10, babies to an 80, our 80-year-olds. I have my 80-year-old aunt, 85-year-old, that she gives everybody a run for their money. She'll be in every vacation that we plan. She's there. She's ready to go, and she's, 82. So I think there's a huge opportunity for group business as group business continues to grow, and people finding Pied Piper, find the family leader, the decision maker within a family, the person of influence within a family group or community. And, you get them to kind of sell and pitch that group business to the rest of the family.
I'm telling you, there are a lot of amazing business gems that are within this audio series amongst all of the episodes. So if you have been piqued a little bit, not only just from hearing the family heritage, but hearing about the untapped opportunities that are within the Hispanic communities, or hearing more about, using private jet planes for as one of your sales upsells in your travel business, you definitely need to check out this audio series. I will say that this audio series very much also lit an even bigger fire within me. I would say it's partial this audio series and partial me getting ready for my next big event, which is the 3rd annual Prep for Wave Week. That's happening just in a couple of weeks, October 23rd through the 27th. So just a little spoiler there for you. There will be a link at the bottom of this episode so that you can start registering and securing your spot for those interviews. But diversity has been a huge focal point in all of the events. I was committed back in, what was it, 2021? Yeah, 2021, when I ran the first Prep for Wave Week, that I was going to have 50% diversity amongst my speakers. And that meant cultural diversity, that meant ability diversity, that meant sexual orientation diversity. Diversity covers so many different avenues. And I think it was, probably the intersection of all these different things that were happening this fall that I have become really, really passionate. And I'm I think this really needs to come at the forefront. I recently wrote a blog post, and you can check it out too if this is something that resonates with you and you're a little bit curious about this as well. But we really need to uplift these different voices. I mean, you can see there's industry leaders at all different levels and ranks within the industry in the Hispanic community, but our voices are not always elevated like they are in series like these and the ones that I put on. And so I am very much committed to making that a norm within this industry. And I've got a couple of ideas on how I want to do that as well. So just stay tuned. Like, I don't know about you, but fall has been a huge, like, creative burst for me. And I just cannot wait to either bring new things to the table or show you the things that I have been working on these past couple of months. Alrighty, so enough about that. Let's go ahead and move forward with our next speaker, Adolfo Perez, no relation, from Carnival Cruise Line.
I actually, I'll be honest with you, I was almost a little bit of a cubano arrepentido for a while because I wanted to be American. I went to an American school. All my friends were American, and I didn't want to be different. I remember for the longest time, I pushed back on the culture and music, and I didn't want to speak Spanish, and I didn't want to be in a Spanish-speaking Spanish class for Spanish-speaking students. I made my mom put me in the English one. And I didn't really look what people typically think Hispanics look like because I was kind of blonde when I was a kid.
Really?
So other than with my name, which you can't get around,
no,
Adolfo Perez, I was doing my best. And then it wasn't until I got a little bit older that I started really appreciating the music, the food, the dancing, the parties that we would do. And I remember, most American kids would go away to school. At least at our house, typically Cuban families, like you went to Miami-Dade Community College, you went to University of Miami, FIU, wherever it was. And it wasn't really something like, most people would go away, to out of state or school. So it was different in that sense. When I think of my American neighbors and what they all did. But it took me a while to really get into it, but then it was like, I really wanted to speak Spanish better. I really wanted to write Spanish. I really embraced it because it was cool. It was cool to be, different at that point.
Right.
And really embracing that part of my culture. So
did you feel like stuck in the middle? Because I know many of us can feel like that, where you're not too Hispanic for like your culture, but you're not too American for the American culture.
Yeah. And, honestly, part of the reason that I was trying to get away from the Spanish and the Cuban part of it was because, my next door neighbors were my best friends, but, they'd call me, Cuban refugee every once in a while. And, things like that really made it, something that you didn't want to be. I want to be. I'm American. I was born in the United States, just like you were, And I said, where's your family originally from? You weren't originally from here, So because my parents were so dead set on being American at that point, and like I said, we did watch American television. I'd watch TV with my mom all the time. And my mother and father both spoke English with an accent, of course. And I remember she was very involved in my school, and I was always embarrassed about her accent. And she would say, you don't know how many of your friends or your family that, have parents that don't speak any English at all. And I used to teach English in Cuba. So, so it's not so much that I felt in the middle. I just, when you're little and you're growing up in an all-American neighborhood, you want to fit in and you don't want to be different, right?
Right.
And it wasn't until I got old enough to realize that I should appreciate, the heritage and the culture from Cuba and from, probably even from Spain, because a lot of, people that were in Cuba were from Spain. And the things that we would eat, sometimes you go to Spain, you eat. I remember my mother would make the tortillas, the thick ones that were cold, just like they do in Spain. So I really started to love all that and really get into it. But I don't know if I felt in the middle. I didn't want, like I said, I didn't want to be Latin at first until I got old enough to really appreciate it. So yeah, I guess I struggled with it for a while, but then I really I love it.
The tail end of that really opened up a great conversation between Adolfo and myself about how sometimes in our communities, we can feel like we're not enough for either or maybe we feel one or the other, like we feel too American, or sometimes we feel too Puerto Rican. But when we're with other Americans or other Puerto Ricans, we don't feel like we're enough for either one. And it just makes me think about that moment in the movie Selena, where she kind of mentions the same thing. She's like, I'm not Mexican enough for the Mexicans, and I'm not American enough for the Americans. And so it was very, I don't want to say heartwarming exactly, but I appreciated seeing somebody else who had similar struggles and like felt kind of similarly, where you're in the middle because you have family that comes from a different country and you were born in a different country, and kind of like assimilating to that, and also like appreciating where your roots come from and really getting to know deeply what your roots and what your culture is all about, and being able to share that with other people. Because I don't know about you, but I like these stories and these memories just really, again, soothe the soul. And I was so happy also that all of the speakers were just so open and giving with their stories, both past and present. We've got 2 more amazing speakers to go. And first up, we have Vanessa McGovern of Gifted Travel Network. So what, like if we're going to your house and you're throwing a Peruvian party or your childhood home, what's happening? What are we smelling? What are we hearing? Who's there?
Yeah. Great question. I'm very blessed with, my dad is an excellent cook of all things Peruvian food. My grandmother, my Czech grandmother, was a chef in Peru. That was her profession. And so she was also very good at cooking Peruvian food. And so I have a big love affair with Peruvian food. And that's actually one of the big pain points that I'm currently experiencing living in North Carolina, where I live. It isn't a strong Latin community where we live. And so I struggle with finding what would be the first dish that you would experience at a Peruvian party, which is the traditional Peruvian dish, which is a ceviche. So ceviche is Peruvian. I am sorry for other people listening from other Latin American countries that would like to claim ceviche as a Latin dish. It is, if it isn't a Peruvian ceviche, it is not the authentic ceviche is from Peru. The marinated in lime, and there can be ceviche mixto that has the corvina fish with pulpo and octopus and other types of fish, shrimp, and or it could just be a straight shrimp ceviche. I mean, there's different variations of ceviche, but it is obviously the most well-known. But if you're coming to a Peruvian party, you will most likely be welcomed with a drink. And a Peruvian drink is chicha morada, which is made from purple corn, and it tastes like a really intense, like purple Kool-Aid, essentially.
Okay.
Extremely sweet, but extremely flavorful and very Peruvian. So I love a good chicha. And it's non-alcoholic, or you'll be offered an Inca Cola, which is tastes like a Mountain Dew, and that's a very typical Peruvian soda, Coca-Cola product, but Inca, like for the Inca Cola. Or you'll be offered a pisco sour if you would like an alcoholic beverage, and that's a very Peruvian drink made from pisco. That's obviously the alcohol, and made it's with an egg and all kinds of amazing ingredients that I really couldn't tell you off the top of my head, because I'm always on the receiving end of drinking one, never making one. But my dad always makes a very good pisco sour. And then in terms of food, if you're at a Peruvian party, like I said, you'll have ceviche. Other dishes that we love to enjoy is, I know my mom's favorite dish is lomo saltado, which is just a chicken and rice dish, or arroz con pollo. I mean, that's a typical Latin dish, but lomo saltado is very Peruvian. Arroz chaufa is very Peruvian. Arroz chaufa is a fried rice. Interestingly, there's a lot of Japanese influence in Peru. There's a very strong Japanese community in Peru. So there's a lot of good fusion dishes, Latin Asian fusion dishes. Yeah, in Peru. Oh, my absolute favorite Peruvian dish, like I cannot get enough of this, is papa la huancaína. And that's huancaína. So papa, potatoes, right? Huancaína is the sauce. And it's a yellow sauce. And it's just so insanely flavorful. And so people at parties, my dad specifically will do like little mini potatoes, and he'll like put little toothpicks on it. So like as an appetizer, you'll take the little potato and dip it in the huancaína sauce, or my mom will have like a side of chips if you don't want the potatoes. Or you can have it as a full-on dish and just cook a bunch of boiled, like just put a bunch of boiled potatoes and pour the huancaína sauce over it. And that's usually like an appetizer dish. And then the main course is served. Anticuchos is very Peruvian. Anticuchos is not for everyone. And usually I like to tell people, you don't want to know what it is until after you eat it. And then I know you'll like it. And it's the heart, it's the beef heart. And it's the secret to anticuchos is how long it's being marinated for. And like I have this memory of like my parents' friends, right? All my family friends that I grew up with in the summers coming over for barbecues, and my dad would have like a big plastic like bucket in the basement for like days marinating his anticucho before the barbecue. And that's a very, very Peruvian thing.
Do you know what like goes in the marinade for that?
Oof, I really could not tell you.
I think like salivated and everything that you're mentioning. I'm like the rice. I'm even interested to try this.
Yes.
Anticucho?
Anticuchos.
Okay. Cuchos. I learned so much about Peru and Peruvian culture from my conversation with Vanessa. What you don't hear is that she was just about to get started on dessert. So if you're interested in learning more about Peruvian culture, you definitely need to tune in on this. And not only that, like Vanessa's background is super multicultural, but it, all roads kind of like lead back to Peru, where her parents were raised, met, but didn't date. So that's another interesting story that you'll want to stay tuned for, and make sure that you're registered for the Hispanics in Travel audio series. All right, last but definitely not least, we have Alex Pinelo from AmaWaterways. Now, I don't think that we can have, a conversation about Hispanic heritage and like tying that in with AmaWaterways without talking about, one, the Latin Touch cruises that preceded even to the big Colombia announcement.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, and the fact that we actually have a dedicated, Latin America team, right? We have our dedicated team, and currently consists of three team members, and they're doing the selling, they're doing the reservations, they're doing the marketing, really supporting, doing all the training, supporting the market, obviously speaking Spanish because it's very important. Even though I have to say many countries in Latin America speak more English than they do in Miami. I can say that having been there all my life, right? But yeah, it's really, really important for us, at AmaWaterways, the whole, inclusivity and connecting with the Latin and Hispanic culture is very important to us. And I know that one of the things, even when I started, that we had, because of Latin, cruises with a Latin touch, or cruceros con toque latino, as we call them, right? Became so important, and we've continued them, and it's great because it really gives the opportunity for those guests that are looking for that, special, they want to travel to the destination, they want to immerse themselves in the destination, yet they want to do it in a way that they feel comfortable, that they understand, that they
Mhm.
comprehend, that they can listen to the tours and the tour guide and the cruise manager and everything. And with these cruises, we offer, of course, the excursions with the Spanish speaking guides. We offer the menus in the restaurant in Spanish. We offer the daily cruiser, if you will, in Spanish for them. And it gives them, again, the opportunity to have also Spanish themed entertainment and lecture board, and to really create that sense and that, culture on board that they're comfortable with and they're familiar with. And it has been very, very, very successful. And we're super excited, and we're obviously continuing those into the future. And then on top of that, then the cherry on top is, of course, being the first cruise line to introduce Colombia on the Magdalena River. So we'll start cruising there in November of 2024. So a little over a year from now, we'll be offering 7-day cruises from Barranquilla to Cartagena, and the reverse, with land packages in Medellin, Cartagena, and Panama City. So talk about, oh my goodness, Colombia, what an incredible destination with their unique culture, their people that are amazing, the beautiful scenery, the music, the coffee, the wildlife. I mean, it's just so exciting. We're going to actually have 2 ships there, the Ama Magdalena that will start in November, and then the Ama Melodia that will start the following June of 2025. So we're super excited. It's going to be a great destination for Hispanics or those that want to immerse themselves in a Hispanic culture. So I think it's going to be, a product for everybody, not just Hispanics. But I think it just goes to show the importance of embracing the Hispanic culture, right? Whether you embrace it within your organization, within your company, with the team members you employ, or of course the destinations and the places that you travel to. So again, it's been selling really, really well. And we're really, really excited to start to sailing. So I can't wait. That's definitely very high on my.
Same. I was excited for it for like so many different reasons. As a Latina, just being excited that I'm like, oh my gosh, like an exclusively like Hispanic, and I have friends who are Colombian, and they have been wanting me to go to Colombia for so long. And what holds me back is I get motion sickness. And so I know driving through the mountains, I'm like, oh, that made me nervous. And so when the river cruise itineraries came out, I'm like, I could see it and not get motion sick.
Absolutely. Okay, Rita, we have to put together a group. We have to put together a group, and we have to sail together, and we have to invite all your Hispanic clients, or all your clients, for that matter, right? All your followers for that matter, that can come join us, and we can experience it firsthand. So that'll be great.
Because I know that there's a lot of advisors too that are super excited about, and I don't recall exactly who Rudy and Christine worked with to put the itinerary together, but all the African heritage and culture and history that came back, a lot of people are very excited that that's also incorporated into this itinerary.
Absolutely.
And there you have it, these 7 amazing interviews from industry leaders within the Hispanic community to honor and celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month within the travel industry. So if you would like to listen in fully on all of these interviews, it is available exclusively on a private podcast feed. To register, it only costs $9, and you'll get access to each one of those. So it's literally just $1 and a couple cents for access to listen into each of those. And that is really all that I have for you this week. So I've got the link below there. And then just a little spoiler of Prep for Wave Week registration is also now open. I'll go ahead and I'll talk a little bit more about that next week. But you are not going to want to miss out on this. So have a fabulous week, and I'll see you back here next week. Bye, everyone.